The number one way to catch more waves, and there is no debate, is to add years of quality surfing on the back end of your surfing lifetime by living a healthy lifestyle now. All right, welcome back to the Hydro Mind Podcast. Kyle Rust here, and today I want to talk to you about surfing longevity so you can surf longer, so you never have to say the words "I used to surf," so you can pass the passion down to your kids and your kids, and you can be out there shredding as much as you want. So I always talk about wave multiplication, how you can build your paddle strength to catch more waves per session, how you can build your breath training so you can catch better waves and have better oxygen efficiency. But once you have those things, and that'll multiply your wave count a lot. But then when you multiply the amount of sessions you get in your life by being healthy and surfing longer, that is the ultimate wave multiplier. You can and should be catching thousands of more waves in your lifetime just by simply using your fuel of a passion for surfing to fuel your workouts to keep you healthy, keep you strong. So today we're going to talk about the top 3 longevity secrets so that you can be in the water as long as humanly possible. These are things that I'm using. These are things I get from the best sources, people who are actually in their 60s and 70s who are shredding still in super great shape. So I'm only giving you stuff that I put in practice that has brought health and vitality in my life, and I'm so happy to share with you. Top 3 surf longevity secrets. Number 1, hydration. So important. It's so easy to be dehydrated. You actually need a lot more water than you think you do. Well, that was the case for me anyways. And it's different for each person depending on the size of your body. So a good rule of thumb is you take half your body weight and drink that in ounces. So I'm about 180 right now, so that's 90 ounces of water per day. But here's the secret. You're sleeping 8 hours, right? So you don't break it up into 24-hour days. So say you're awake 16 hours. It's best to front load on the front end. So when you wake up, the very first thing you should do before you have coffee, before you do anything, literally while your eyes are still half closed, have 2 cups of water. And a really important part about hydration that can't be missed is you need to understand the quality of water you're drinking. So there's a pH scale which goes from acidic to alkaline, right? Alkaline being good, acidic being bad. And you can test your tap water, which I did here. And alkaline and acidic is just a range between the amount of minerals in the water. More minerals the better, less, worse is acidic. So if you test it with a pH tester, you get little droplets or a piece of paper, like a tab thing, you put in it and it'll change color. So purple will be good, yellow will be bad, and there's like a rainbow scale in between that. If your water is void of minerals and it's on this acidic side, all you gotta do is add minerals to it. So the best way to do that is to add salt, not table salt, that's sodium chloride. I'm talking about pink Himalayan salt, Celtic sea salt, things like that. Those have all the essential minerals, things you need. It's not just a good to have, it's a must have to be healthy. Things like magnesium, potassium, sodium, there's a dozen or more of them depending on the mineral source you're using. I also use something called Alkazone. It's a water alkalizer. So it's just little droplets. All it is liquefied minerals. It's super potent, has tons in it, and it's good for travel. At home, I use Himalayan sea salt at my table. When I'm away from home, I use the droplets. So it's super important. Now for surfing, this is insanely important. If you get cramps while you're surfing, I personally always got cramps in my calf muscles, and it was always during a wipeout, always while I was fighting to hold my breath. So a way to prevent this is to have the right minerals. So if you're gonna be surfing, you're gonna be out in the salt water for 2, 3, maybe 4 hours, so you won't be able to have a drink of water while you're out there. So it's important to drink a ton of water before, but you don't wanna drink too much. Everyone's different, remember. You gotta make sure you get the minerals, but a good rule of thumb that I use, and it's kind of a feeling out of your body, it'll take time to learn, is that you should have to pee every 30 minutes. So once you paddle out, you should have to pee almost right away after you catch one wave, right? So that's pretty much the basics for hydration, but it's so valuable. Oh yeah, also part of the timeline. So while you front load drinking in the morning, because you don't want to drink a ton before bed, because then if you have to wake up and pee, you won't have as restful of a sleep. Anyways, hydration, so critical, especially for performance sports like surfing. Now number 2 is nutrition. What are you putting in your body? I could talk for an hour about the quality of food, and that's so important, like that you can't forget this. Organic produce and organic pasture-raised meat You can't skip this part. Putting all those poisonous herbicides, fungicides, rodenticides, chemicals into your body. You are what you eat, and you are what you eat eats. So if cows aren't supposed to be eating grains, it makes them fat and sick, and they're not supposed to be pumped full of antibiotics. So that's all I'll say about that, is food quality is important. If it costs a little bit more money in the beginning, but you save on health care in the future, right? So if you have time, for us, the grocery store isn't a great source of organic stuff where we live anyways. We use a delivery service called Organic Box, and they deliver organic produce and locally sourced meats that come from local ranchers and farms and stuff, which is super great. So that's what we use. This is here up in Canada, though. There's different ones all over the world. So look into that. A delivery service is great for that. But the biggest point on nutrition is there is no one size fits all diet. There's no one diet that's healthy for everyone. The best evidence of this, there's a guy from, I think it was the 1930s. I should have looked this up before. I'm pretty sure it's the 1930s. He did some insane research. So they were looking at Europeans coming to North America, and they were having what they called degeneration, which were degenerative diseases, were accelerating. Things like cancer, heart disease, even crooked teeth, and like cleft palates, so like their mouths were becoming deformed, obesity, diabetes, all these things were on the rise, right? And so the people were dying younger, and people were getting super, super sick, and it was just getting worse and worse year over year. So they extrapolated out to the future. They thought these things were going up so steadily that humans wouldn't even exist. They'd be extinct within 100 years. So they were super, super worried about this. So they brought in a ton of experts to research why this is suddenly starting to happen. And this guy, Weston A. Price, he was a dentist actually, and people were getting crooked teeth. Their teeth were just going to shit, right? And they were getting that cleft palate, which was like the narrowing of the roof of their mouth, which is a really bad problem. Anyways, so he started traveling around the world. He did it for a couple decades, where he traveled to almost every continent and visited indigenous tribes. And it was a super, super important point in time, like a really, really, the only time in history that this could have happened, because there were indigenous tribes that were still eating their traditional diets. There were ones who had transitioned late in life over to a modern diet, and then there were ones who were born only eating a modern diet from those tribes, right? Modern diet being processed flour, sugar, salt, and dairy. And as well, it was long enough ago that all these stages of life were happening and nutrition, but also a point in history where photographs, cameras, the technology was just good enough that he could have a portable camera and take pictures of these people and show the results that they had. So he showed that, as soon as someone would go off their traditional diet, they would instantly start getting crooked teeth, they'd instantly start getting fat, they'd instantly start getting all kinds of diseases, their immune systems would crash, and that was the cause of what they called degeneration. He has a book called Nutrition and Degeneration. It's a massive book, and it's so valuable. But the point of that is, he determined there are three groups of people three different groups that people fit into that can tell which type of food you're supposed to be eating. So number one is polar type. So polar meaning you live close to the poles on the globe, so northern or southern. So it's more high protein, high fat, because they hunt more big game. They're eating more animal products, right? And they didn't have agriculture, and it was cold. They didn't have plants and vegetables and fruit and all that kind of stuff. Then there's equatorial, so closer to the middle of the earth. So equatorial, closer to the equator. And they have more tropical fruits, they have more starchy vegetables, they have agriculture, they have smaller game, so there's still protein and fat, but not as much. They have a lot of fish, things like that. So depending on where your ancestry is on the globe, depends which one of those you are. The third one is variable. So you're kind of switch between the both, right? Or you're kind of in the middle. So that's super important to understand, because people digest food differently, they process food differently. And people who are more on high carbohydrate diets have longer intestines because they digest the food longer, which is... So for anyone who's dogmatic about their certain type of diet, they just are misinformed. There's lots of people who've been super healthy on vegan diets. There's lots of people who've been super sick on vegan diets. Same goes for meat. So it's important to understand that about yourself. Now, for me, my Waterman Shred program, I promote the ketogenic diet, which is high fat, high protein. And the benefit to ketogenic diet for surfers is it can actually increase your breath hold time. Even if you are an equatorial type, it's good to try this and even just do it temporarily to see what it's like, to see how you feel and get the benefits of it. And you can do it periodically through the year. But if not, if you really need carbs to have the right amount of energy, you can do what I call a 4 white devils diet. So a white devils diet. So it's like you just cut out flour, cut out sugar, cut out salt, and cut out dairy. So you can still have carbohydrates like potatoes, which are great. So, but cut out the 4 white devils, you'll experience great weight loss and you'll experience the longevity stuff that we're talking about. So I bring this up now because I want to give you guys a free trial of my Waterman Shred program, which teaches the ketogenic diet because it increases your breath hold time, increases your endurance, lowers your body fat. And even if you just do it temporarily, it can give you all those benefits. And then you can switch to a white devil's diet and then you can maintain all those gains. So that's super, super important. What you put in your body matters almost more than anything. Number 3 is stretching. Stretching is seriously the fountain of youth. Now me, I was always a great athlete. Ever since I was a little kid, I just had that, the coordination, the speed, all that kind of stuff. And I was so unflexible. I had never been able to touch my toes ever in my life. And my coaches and trainers would always warn me, be like, you're going to be prone to injury. You're going to get hurt. You got to start stretching. And I was always the best on my team, whether it was soccer, basketball, this, that, snowboarding, skateboarding, everything. I was excel at everything almost effortlessly. It was just like with the talent that I had as a kid. So I didn't listen to anyone. I did not be like, well, why would I stretch? I'm already killing it. So fast forward a little bit later in life, snowboarding was the worst. Snowboarding was the first thing to go because wipeouts on a snowboard are a lot more impactful. So I would go snowboarding one day. All it took was one wipeout and I'd throw out my back. And I was early 20s. So I thought early 20s, I'm like, my snowboarding career is over. This sucks. It was really disappointing. I was in constant pain. I had back pain. I had hip pain. Shoulder pain. I had it all. I was a mess. I thought I was like at the tail end of all that stuff. I thought I was gonna have to give up all my passions until I started stretching. So I decided I didn't want to be in pain anymore. I was in pain during the day. I was in pain when I was out doing the sports that I love. So I started stretching. At first I started trying to touch my toes because I didn't know any stretches. I went to a lot of yoga classes to learn the stretches that I like. And now I can say, like, people always ask me, like, how do I cure back pain, hip pain, and stuff. I had them all. I had back pain so bad in my early 20s that there was one point I couldn't walk. I had to fall out of bed, crawl to my dresser, pull myself up to get to my feet. Horrible, scary place to be in your early 20s. Cured my back pain through stretching and some other things, but stretching was probably the biggest. Shoulder pain. I used to feel like I'd be sitting there minding my own business, watching TV or whatever, and I would feel like someone would come and stab me with a knife in the shoulder out of nowhere, just like blinding pain. And I cured that through stretching. Hip pain, oh my God, it was so severe. Sometimes I couldn't even walk. It was just like so bad. Again, stretching. So I'll give you a broad tip for how to stretch for pain management, but also performance. There's no one size fits all stretching routine. It's all about postural balance. So it's straighten your spine. The worst parts about posture are forward head, forward shoulder, and then you can't see, but your tilted pelvis. So if you were to stand like this and stick your pelvis out or stick your butt back, that's an off kilter, right? So it has to be in a way that aligns your spine totally. So you want to do postural balance stretches. So you have to do a stretching test that goes from head to toe, and you do all these different stretches, and the stretches that are super tight, those are the ones you need to do. But the stretches that are easy, you leave those because you want to balance it, right? You don't want to stretch already loose muscles because it'll create imbalances. So it's all about balancing. So fixing your posture. This is a part of the Waterman Shred program. It'll show you how to do the stretch testing. So you get your own personalized list. So you check off each one that was tight, and that's your stretching routine. And that's going to fix your posture. That's going to help your hips, going to help your back. Shoulders are more specific stretches, which are in there as well. So that's it for stretching. Nothing could be more valuable than stretching. It's the fountain of youth, and it's mandatory for me. And so you gotta warm up, do stretches, and you gotta work out. If you don't have time to do both, only do the stretches, because that is gonna be key. If you work out without stretching, which I've done, those injuries start coming back fast. So never skip the stretches. Always skip the workout if you're short on time. We're about to give you a bonus 4th tip, so important, and we're talking about recovery. Everybody wants the gains. Everybody wants to push. Oh yeah, lifting heavy weights, get those gains, feels the best, right? But the push part isn't really what gives you the results. The anabolic side, the resting part is, so if you ever heard about anabolic steroids, right? The anabolic is the recovery side. So stretching, breaking down the muscles, catabolic. Rest and recovery, anabolic. So that's what steroids actually do, is they accelerate that anabolic stage, the recovery stage, or the rebuild stage. So you really, really want to push hard in the gym to get those results. You got to push as hard in your recovery. So it has to do with your nervous system, parasympathetic and sympathetic. So one is fight or flight, which is adrenaline, which is like working out. The other one is rest and digest. So you want to relax. And it's a sliding scale. It's not black or white, one or the other. There's kind of a bit of this, bit of that all throughout the day. So a great way to force yourself into that recovery state is through breathing. And it is the most reliable. It's so simple. So let's say you have a really hardcore workout. You're exhausted, your muscles are pumped, your heart's pumping, your blood is flowing, you're hot, you're sweaty, and you feel good. That's the breaking down part. You want to switch it to the anabolic state. So this is the anabolic side of exercise. So this is your legal drug-free steroid side of working out, is to do a little bit of breath training. And it's so simple. I like to do it. I like to lay on my back with my knees up and inhale, exhale through the belly. And I put my knees up like this, so one knee up, one knee laying back, and then I slide back and forth with your breath. And you will feel it. You can actually absolutely feel it in your nervous system when you go from that heart pounding state to really alert. You really know what's going on. Then you kind of flow, and then you get in the zone where you're just like, and you know what happens there? Your body starts repairing itself. Isn't that great? So simple, and you will get such better results by focusing on the recovery, not just the push, not just the exhale, it's also the inhale, the yin and the yang, energy out, energy in, the balance of life. Nothing could be more important than that, especially for longevity. You can't only stress your body, because that will equal a short career. And trust me, I've made all these mistakes like I detailed here. I've had hardcore food addictions. I've been dehydrated, drinking only coffee for the first half of the day. I've been so inflexible, my body could barely move, and I was in pain all the time. Fixed them all through my passion for surfing, and I'm so stoked to share with you. So my Waterman Shred program, which is everything we just talked about here, put together in a package for you. I want you to try it for free. Now, it took me, like I had to learn fitness, I had to learn exercise, I had to learn nutrition on my own. There weren't any surf-specific training programs available when I was looking to change my health. I had to do it the hard way. It was a 10-year road of making mistakes, letting all the stuff that doesn't work fall away, and then leaving what was giving me results in the water and helping me with that longevity. So I put it all together for you. I want you to try it for free. I don't want you to take my word for it that it's awesome. I want you to feel the results before I ever ask for any investment on your part. That is, I think, as all my work up to this point, I think helping people with longevity and being healthy and pain-free is the best work I've done so far. It's the thing I'm most proud of, and I'm super excited to offer it to you. So all you gotta do is you DM me on Instagram is the easiest way. That's where I check every day, and I'll get back to you with the link so you can try it for free. And if you like this kind of content, if you like what I'm doing here, leave me a comment, and number one, tell a friend. My name is Kyle Russ. It's the Hydro Mind Podcast. Thanks a lot.